The biggest twist in Lucky isn't that Carrie betrayed Lucky. That reveal happens so early it's almost impossible to miss. The real twist is something much quieter, something the writers carefully hide beneath every chase scene, every close call, and every desperate escape. It's the fact that this story was never really about stolen money. It was never about the FBI. And it wasn't even about Lucky running for her life, it's about trust. More specifically, it's about how every person Lucky trusts becomes another piece of the trap closing around her. Think about the way the first 2 episodes are structured. They throw us into chaos almost immediately. Lucky is already running before we fully understand why. The pace barely slows down long enough for us to catch our breath, which is exactly what the writers want. While we're focused on the explosions, the betrayals, and the escape attempts, they're quietly planting clues that the biggest deception isn't happening in front of Lucky. It's happening around her. By the end of episode 2, one thing becomes impossible to ignore. Lucky isn't just escaping people hunting her. She's escaping a story someone else has already written for her. And once you realize that, almost every scene from the premiere takes on a completely different meaning. Before we dive into today's breakdown, do me one quick favor. If YouTube's algorithm hasn't already decided this video knows a little too much about Carrie's disappearing act, hit that subscribe button. It's completely free, it helps the channel more than you know, and unlike the people chasing Lucky, I promise I'm not asking you to hand over a duffel bag full of cash first. And seriously, stick around until the end of this video because every clue connects to one final realization. The writers give us the answer in episodes 1 and 2, but they hide it so well that most viewers are looking in the wrong direction. Let's quickly rewind. The series wastes absolutely no time dropping us into Lucky's nightmare. One moment she believes she's finally escaping her old life with Carrie and a fortune that promises a fresh start. The next day, she's abandoned, hunted by the FBI, pursued by dangerous criminals, and forced to rely on the survival skills she spent years trying to leave behind. On the surface, it feels like a classic betrayal story. Carrie takes the money, disappears, and Lucky becomes the obvious target. That's the version of events the show wants us to accept during the opening episodes, because it gives us someone to blame. But the more carefully you watch, the more obvious it becomes that Carrie's betrayal is only the spark. The real fire was already burning long before he vanished. One of the smartest decisions the writers make is refusing to tell the story in a straightforward way. Instead of giving us every answer, they constantly interrupt certainty with doubt. Just when we think we've figured out who the villains are, another layer appears. Just when Lucky believes she's found a temporary escape, another threat emerges from a completely different direction. That isn't simply done to create suspense. It's done to place us in Lucky's mindset. She never has enough information to trust anyone, and neither do we. Every conversation feels incomplete, every alliance feels temporary. Every promise comes with an invisible condition. That's a remarkably effective way to introduce a thriller, because it teaches the audience to question every assumption before the mystery has even revealed its true shape. One of the easiest mistakes to make while watching these first 2 episodes is assuming she's simply reacting to circumstances. But that's not what the show is doing. Lucky has spent her entire life reading people. Growing up around cons and deception taught her that survival depends on noticing details everyone else ignores. That's why she survives situations that would overwhelm almost anyone else. She isn't stronger than her enemies. She isn't better armed. She's simply better at recognizing patterns. Ironically, though, the one pattern she struggles to see is the one involving the people she loves. That's the emotional contradiction at the center of the series. Lucky can spot a stranger's lie almost instantly, yet the lies told by those closest to her cut straight through her defenses. And that's why I believe the biggest twist was hiding in plain sight from the very first episode. Carrie isn't the mystery, he's the distraction. The writers intentionally make his betrayal feel like the central event, because they know viewers will naturally focus on the missing money and the missing husband. Meanwhile, the real mystery quietly grows in the background. Who benefits from Lucky becoming the only person everyone is chasing? Why does it feel like multiple groups already know far more about the situation than she does? And perhaps the biggest question of all, is Lucky actually running from the people hunting her? Or is she unknowingly running exactly where someone wanted her to go? Now let's look at the detail that almost everyone overlooks after finishing the first 2 episodes. Every major decision Lucky makes feels like her own choice. She chooses where to run. She chooses who to trust. She chooses when to fight and when to disappear. But does she really? Go back and watch those scenes carefully. Almost every one of Lucky's decisions happens after someone else introduces new information into the situation. Someone tells her where to go. Someone gives her a warning. Someone reveals another piece of Carrie's betrayal. Someone pushes her toward another destination. On the surface, it feels like she's staying one step ahead of everyone chasing her. But underneath that excitement is a much darker possibility. What if Lucky isn't escaping the game at all? What if she's simply moving from one square to another exactly as someone planned? That's the difference between running away and being guided. One gives you freedom. The other only creates the illusion of it. That's what makes Carrie's disappearance so fascinating. The obvious explanation is that he betrayed Lucky for the money. It's simple, believable, and exactly the kind of twist audiences expect in a crime thriller. But the writers reveal that information so early that it immediately raises another question. If Carrie really is the mastermind behind everything, why reveal his betrayal almost immediately? Shows like Lucky rarely give away their biggest surprise in the opening chapters. Instead, they reveal just enough to make viewers stop asking deeper questions. Carrie becomes the perfect distraction because once we blame him, we stop wondering whether someone else has been pulling the strings from the very beginning. The missing money keeps our attention focused on greed while the real mystery quietly shifts toward manipulation. There's another clue hidden in the pacing itself. Notice how quickly new threats replace old ones. The moment Lucky escapes one dangerous situation, another appears almost immediately. In most thrillers, that's simply a way to keep the action moving. Here, it feels much more deliberate. It's almost as if the story refuses to give Lucky enough time to stop and think. She's constantly reacting instead of investigating. That's important because people who are reacting rarely notice the bigger picture. Whoever benefits from Lucky's confusion understands that the safest target isn't someone who's weak. It's someone who's too busy surviving to ask the right questions. Every chase buys the real architect of this mystery more time. And then there's Lucky's greatest strength, which may also become her biggest weakness. Throughout the first 2 episodes, we see how quickly she reads danger. She notices suspicious behavior, she anticipates betrayal, she adapts under pressure. Those aren't skills someone develops overnight. They're survival instincts, built through years of experience. But survival instincts are designed for immediate threats. They help you recognize the person holding the knife, not necessarily the person who convinced someone else to pick it up. That's where this story becomes much more psychological than it first appears. Lucky is exceptional at surviving the moment, but someone may be exploiting her inability to see the entire board. That idea completely changes how we should view the people surrounding her. Instead of asking who can Lucky trust, we should start asking who benefits every time Lucky trusts the wrong person. Those are very different questions. The first assumes the answer is hidden among her allies. The second assumes the answer is hidden among the people shaping her choices. That's a subtle distinction, but it's one that great thrillers love to explore. The best manipulators rarely force their victims to do anything. They simply arrange circumstances so every available option leads to the same destination. Another detail worth paying attention to is how often the writers emphasize identity instead of money. Yes, the missing fortune drives the plot, but emotionally, the series keeps returning to Lucky herself. Who is she now? Can she ever escape the life she left behind? Was her new beginning ever real, or was it always built on a lie? Those questions carry far more emotional weight than the cash itself. Money is replaceable. Identity isn't. That's why I don't believe the stolen money is the true prize. The real prize may be Lucky, her knowledge, her past, her connections, or something she doesn't even realize she possesses yet. If that's true, then everyone chasing the money may actually be chasing her.